and a very warm welcome. I am Gursheen Garland and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. Starting with the latest in West Asia, Israel claims to have eliminated another top Iranian commander in its latest strike. Ali Shadmani, the wartime chief of Army Staff of Iran and the top military advisor to Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, has been eliminated in a targeted airstrike in central Tehran. According to the Israeli military, fighter jets seized a sudden opportunity to strike a manned command center. Shadmani is the second Iranian top military commander to be killed in 5 days. Israel's military confirms it carried out extensive strikes on western Iran. Israel says it targeted dozens of surface-to-surface missile storage centers and destroyed missile launchers. The IDF claims it also targeted Iranian missile launch centers and drone depots. Sirens played across Israel's Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, followed by loud booms heard across both cities. The Israeli military confirmed it had identified missile launches from Iran and was actively intercepting incoming threats. Israeli police reported missile impacts and falling shrapnel in the Tel Aviv area, causing property damage but no casualties. Early on Tuesday, Israel bombed the headquarters of Iran's state media in the capital city of Tehran. The strike took place during a live broadcast on the state-run television, where a news anchor was seen ducking for cover. On the outside, the strike left the state media building ablaze. According to Iranian media, 3 staff members were killed. Iran's foreign ministry has decried the spike, calling it a war crime. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claims that eliminating Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei would bring the Israel-Iran conflict to an end instead of escalating it. The Israeli Prime Minister's remarks comes a day after reports surfaced saying US President Donald Trump vetoed an Israeli plan to kill the Iranian Supreme Leader. Criticizing previous diplomatic efforts, Netanyahu said Israel gave peace a chance, but the Iranian Supreme Leader continued provocation. President Donald Trump has urged civilians to immediately evacuate Tehran. In a series of posts on his social media platform Truth Social, Trump has slammed Iran for ignoring nuclear deal talks and also warned Tehran of serious consequences. Trump also reiterated his long-held stance on Tehran's nuclear ambitions, saying Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, President Trump cut short his G7 summit visit to return to Washington, D.C. to convene a National Security Council meeting. This after French President Emmanuel Macron told reporters that Trump had presented the G7 with an Israel-Iran truce offer. However, the narrative took a sharp turn just hours later when Trump posted on social media countering Macron and claiming that his early return had nothing to do with a ceasefire. In Canada, G7 leaders have urged restraint and have pushed for peace between Israel and Iran. The G7 called for a broader de-escalation of hostilities in West Asia, beginning with a ceasefire. The group affirmed Israel's right to self-defense while also stressing the protection of civilians amid rising casualties on both sides. The statement issued by Canada added that Iran must never acquire a nuclear weapon. Amid rising tensions, the U.S. has deployed additional military assets to West Asia. The USS Nimitz aircraft carrier has been rerouted from the South China Sea to West Asia. This now puts 2 U.S. aircraft carriers in the region. Reports say dozens of Air Force refueling aircraft left their U.S. bases in a new deployment to Europe. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on social media that these deployments are intended to enhance America's defensive posture in the region. India has begun evacuating its citizens from Iran via the Armenia border. In a statement, India's Ministry of External Affairs said Indian students have been moved out of Tehran amid safety concerns, some of whom have been facilitated to leave Iran through Armenia border. Reports say around 100 Indians were brought to the Armenia border from Tehran. The Indian embassy in Tehran continues to monitor the security situation in the region. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump and the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer finalized a bilateral trade deal at the G7 summit in Canada. The agreement discussed last month includes terms on car tariffs and aerospace cooperation. Both leaders hailed the deal as a win for their countries and a testament to their strong ties. Meanwhile, the United States and Japan have failed to reach a trade deal. This deal could have lowered or even eliminated tariffs. President Trump and Japan's Prime Minister Ishiba met on the sidelines of G7 summit. Prime Minister Ishiba stated after the meeting, and I quote, "We've been exploring the possibility of a deal down to the wire, but there are still points where our views remain divided," end quote. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Canada, marking his first visit to the country since 2015. During the trip, Prime Minister Modi will attend the G7 summit in Alberta and attend outreach sessions. He is also scheduled to hold bilateral meetings with key global leaders on a wide range of issues. Chinese President Xi Jinping met with Kazakhstan's president in Astana. The two leaders presided over the signing of several agreements and pledged to jointly support multilateralism and defend the interests of developing nations. Xi emphasized expanding cross-border railway links, upgrading ports, and boosting defense and law enforcement cooperation to counter shared threats such as terrorism and extremism. Amid rising tensions with Beijing, Taiwan is bolstering its maritime defenses with a new generation of uncrewed surface vessels. These sea drones were unveiled today at a military shipyard in Yilan. Taiwan claims these unmanned vessels are well suited for suicide attacks and reconnaissance. According to Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, at least 30 Palestinians were killed by Israeli gunfire. This happened near aid distribution sites in Gaza. According to reports, the Israeli troops started firing at the people approaching the aid sites. The sites are operated by the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. In Ukraine's capital of Kyiv, at least 14 people were killed and around 44 injured in a Russian attack. Officials say residential buildings, educational institutes, critical infrastructure facilities have all been hit. President Zelensky stated on X that over 400 drones and 32 missiles were used in horrific attack. According to the Russian news agencies, the nation's security chief Sergei Shoigu is in North Korea to meet Kim Jong-un. Shoigu is in North Korea on special orders from Russian President Vladimir Putin. The aim is to put in place the agreements reached during his last visit on June 4, as Russia and North Korea expand bilateral and defense cooperation. An Air India flight travelling from San Francisco to Mumbai experienced a technical issue with its left engine during a scheduled stop at Kolkata airport. The flight landed on time, but the snag delayed its onward journey. Later, passengers were instructed to deplane following an onboard announcement. Meanwhile, in India's Nagpur city, an Indigo flight made an emergency landing. This is after the flight received a bomb threat. The flight was on its way to New Delhi from Kochi. Passengers were immediately deplaned and officials reached the spot to begin investigation. On to climate news now. Indian cities of Mumbai and Pune were hit by heavy rain in the last 24 hours. Several parts of western state of Maharashtra saw flooding and train delays. The monsoon intensified due to cyclonic circulation over the region. Rescue teams have been put on alert in low-lying areas. The State Emergency Centre is monitoring the situation closely, and people have been urged to stay safe and avoid waterlogged spots. In the United States, a severe storm hit central Minnesota on Tuesday. Strong winds, heavy rain and hail swept through St. Cloud. Residents reported pea-sized hail and damage in neighborhoods and were urged to stay indoors as conditions got worse. Local footage captured the storm tearing through homes and streets. Floodwaters rushed over a road in Russell, Kentucky on Tuesday. Heavy rain hit the area, leaving streets flooded. The Weather Service had warned of possible flash floods statewide, especially in low-lying areas. The rainfall caused fast-moving water to spread across streets. Residents were urged to avoid flooded roads and stay alert. In central Arizona, firefighters are struggling to contain a raging wildfire that has already burned around 380 acres and has only been 39% contained. Firefighters are struggling to contain the flames due to rough terrain. The blaze is suspected to have started after a car crash in Tonto National Forest on Sunday. No injuries or damage to homes have been reported yet. Authorities continue to monitor the situation closely. And a wildfire also continues to burn in Kahikinu in Hawaii's Maui Island. It started on Sunday and has scorched about 330 acres so far. Maui Fire Department says the blaze is now 85% contained. Evacuations remain in place near a remote section of a highway due to strong winds. No homes were damaged and no injuries were reported according to officials. Authorities are still monitoring hotspots to prevent flare-ups. On to business and tech news now. Stock markets in Asia climbed earlier today as investors hoped that Israel-Iran conflict might remain contained, with Tehran reportedly signaling readiness to negotiate. Japan's Nikkei climbed 0.47%, while the broader topics index ticked 0.17%. Meanwhile, South Korea's Kospi index advanced 1.07%. Oil prices climbed nearly 2% earlier today as tensions between Iran and Israel intensified, and President Donald Trump urged, quote-unquote, everyone to evacuate from Tehran. The move raised fears of deepening unrest in the region and potential disruption to oil supplies. The Brent crude futures contract was up 1.6% to $74.4 a barrel, while the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was up 1.87% at $73.11. The Bank of Japan keeps interest rates unchanged and announces it will slowly taper its government bond purchases. The central bank says it will reduce bond buying by about 200 billion yen, or around $1.38 billion per quarter starting April 2026. The move comes amid rising global trade uncertainty, particularly after tariff threats from President Donald Trump and weakening yen pressures. President Donald Trump's family business launched a new mobile service licensing the Trump name for a $47 monthly plan and a $499 smartphone. The service, called Trump Mobile, was announced at Trump Tower in New York and will operate on existing networks from major U.S. carriers. The Trump family did not disclose who will manufacture the phone, but said it would eventually be built in the United States. On to a deal now that's making headlines. Eli Lilly is reportedly in advanced talks to buy biotech Verve Therapeutics in a deal worth up to $1.3 billion. The pharma giant is expected to pay nearly $1 billion upfront and another $300 million on clinical milestones. The move comes as Eli Lilly seeks to expand its pipeline, focusing on experimental gene therapies to treat high cholesterol. Airbus has secured multi-billion-dollar plane orders from Saudi Arabia and Poland on the opening day of Paris Air Show. Saudi leasing firm Avilease ordered 40 aircraft worth around $3.5 billion, while Riyadh Air signed a separate deal for 25 planes estimated at $4.6 billion. Meanwhile, Poland's national airline LOT ordered 40 jets with options of 44 more worth up $1.6 billion. Beauty giant Coty is reportedly exploring a major sell-off, looking to offload both its luxury and consumer brands in two parts. That includes big names like Gucci, Hugo Boss, Burberry, CoverGirl and Max Factor. This comes as Coty's stock has fallen nearly 25% this year amid economic pressures and trade policy uncertainty under President Trump. OpenAI lands a $200 million contract from U.S. Defense Department to develop advanced AI tools for national security and war-fighting operations. The Pentagon says the work will focus on frontier AI capabilities, with completion set for July 2026. The deal comes as OpenAI's annualized revenue run rate hit $10 billion this month. Meanwhile, tensions are simmering between OpenAI and Microsoft. OpenAI executives have reportedly considered accusing Microsoft, the company's major backer, of an anti-competitive behavior in their partnership. OpenAI may reportedly seek a federal regulatory review to examine whether the contract terms with Microsoft violate antitrust laws. If pursued, the move could unravel one of tech's most critical AI alliances. A Dutch court has upheld a 2021 ruling saying tech giant Apple abused its dominant position with unfair terms for dating apps. The court backed the Dutch consumer watchdog, saying Apple's mandatory payment system and 30% commission were anti-competitive. Apple plans to appeal, arguing that the ruling undermines privacy and security safeguards for users. And finally, moving to sports, we begin with football. Chelsea won their Club World Cup opener against Los Angeles FC 2-0. Pedro Neto's near post shot in the first half was followed by a close-range tap from Enzo Fernandez. The match also had Liam Delap making his debut in front of thousands of empty seats in Atlanta. In cricket, it was history scripting itself in Glasgow as Nepal and the Netherlands played a historic third super over in Tri-Nation T20 series. After winning the toss, the Netherlands took to the field. Nepal scored 152 runs, a scoreline the Dutch levelled during their run chase. The match was tied twice, with the Netherlands finally emerging as winners. Zach-Leon Cachet was named player of the match. In shooting, the Indian contingent concludes its World Cup campaign in Munich with a third-place finish. Indians bring home 2 gold and 2 bronze medals. Suruchi Singh won the gold in women's 10-meter air pistol event. The duo of Arjun Babuta and Arya Borse also won the gold in the 10-meter air rifle mixed team event. Sift Kaur Samra and Ellie Venilwala Rivan won a bronze medal each. In tennis, Serbian icon Novak Djokovic says that defending his Olympic gold medal at the Los Angeles Games is the only thing on his mind right now. Djokovic completed a career Golden Slam when he beat Carlos Alcaraz in the gold medal match of the Paris Olympics last year. And finally, in the world of motorsports, Formula One governing body FIA announced a penalty verdict after McLaren teammates Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri crashed at Canadian Grand Prix. The FIA ruled that Norris was solely to blame for the crash and awarded a 5-second time penalty accordingly. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.